win. Sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet Rivers sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
We are indeed live. Very good day to one and all. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We welcome you in. This is Betting Weekly Live. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, and Lewis Jones on this Monday. We're going to talk soccer, big games in England in the top tier and in the Championship, and we'll also touch on fixtures in Spain and Italy as well, all the latest market moves and betting info coming your way. Welcoming one and all. Tisky Stats is in nice and early. So is ZT. Duncan Evans is with us as well. Lewis, how was your betting weekend? Was it a profitable one? We had some good picks from our European cappers, from our Premier League team. How did you get on?
Yeah, not too bad, Dan. Yeah, it was. I like this time of the season actually. Form seems to. We've got a lot of data to go on. Lots of games, a lot of big sample sizes to use, and I feel like everything does settle down, and it's a good time of the season for me. I think I think I'd like to play a lot of the props markets and the niche markets out there. So some nice winners. Vissa to score any time. I think put that up in the newsletter actually, which was
nice.
There's a lot of, even though Brentford didn't play as well as I expected them to do so going forward, I think Arsenal may have didn't make as many changes as I thought they would. I mean, Saliba played, didn't he? And there's a lot of the big boys still in there. So Brentford didn't quite have as much of the game as I thought. But Vissa, just an excellent goal scorer. I love it every time the market sort of goes against Brentford, because it goes against him as well. And I really enjoy backing his lines. And he did it again for me in that game. So that was a nice winner. And hopefully a few of the newsletter readers got on as well. And then Sunday, copped a nice double, taking on Liverpool on the handicap. So I was with West Ham on the plus 1.75 line, which was nice. And there's another winner as well on Sunday. Oh, the Wolves, of course. Yeah, Wolves against Spurs. I thought that was just a very obvious play to get them on side on Sunday as well. So yeah, no, I'm in good spirits. Plenty of winners behind me at the moment, but it's all about the next, isn't it? We can't rest on our laurels. We must keep pushing on. So yeah, no, in good spirits ahead of busy night.
I was at the Emirates and I thought Brentford were spoilers by and large. If they'd have gone for the win, I think they would have won. But Thomas Frank, as you'll know, generally against the bigger clubs, that they are spoilers, they are destroyers rather than an ambitious team. But I thought that they would have had a better chance. Incidentally, Jorginho, last 5 games that he started for Arsenal, they've drawn all 5. It's a small sample size, but he can slow it down a little bit, can't he, sometimes? We had, of course, the Masters. Oh, just speaking of the newsletter, if you haven't got the newsletter, bettingweeklystudios.com, and you'll get it. You'll get it twice a week. You'll get a lot of Cappers picks for the weekend. You've got all sorts on Monday as well. So make sure you sign up if you haven't already. Likewise, Instagram, some exclusive picks. Nigel's been crushing the tennis over the last few days out in Monte Carlo. He's back in Blighty now. So if you've been following Nigel, you've been flying, obviously, a place for Massetti as well in the final at the weekend. Because we win on Instagram, because we win on Twitter, X. We should talk Masters as well, Lewis, just before we get into the soccer. Hopefully one or two of our bettors were following Simon Holden, who did put up Patrick Reed, who placed at a massive price. But I think generally, bets or no bets, Rory McIlroy's a good news story. Lewis, I didn't watch it all. It was far too late for me, but I believe it was highs and lows. And if you were trading in play, you probably got in and out, hopefully on the right side. But great to see him get that Grand Slam.
Yeah, it was a fascinating. I didn't follow it myself, unfortunately. I was these days with the 2 kids getting me up at 6 o'clock. It's bedtime for me at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So I couldn't keep my eyes open, unfortunately, to watch it. But it's sporting drama at its best, apparently, wasn't it? Even the first few holes. I mean, I caught the first few. The fact he made a 6 on the first and his price rocketed in play from how everything can just change amazingly in one hole of golf. But he was, I think he said it was a bad result for the bookmakers, which is always a nice thing to hear, I think, because the punters need to be celebrating when they can. And I think McIlroy excellently backed across the board, I think, by public money. So, hard not to like him, isn't it? He's an excellent professional, an excellent human being, I think. And he's deserved that because he's been through a lot in his golfing career, a lot of pressure on his shoulders. So, I think that probably go down as probably one of the best sporting stories of the year. And fitting winner. I think I'm
Yeah.
can't have a bad word against McIlroy, and it's good to see him land a few bets for punters as well.
$20,000 play on Rory at -172. That was in play, obviously. Copped 11 grand. $6,500 play on Rory to win at +290. Obviously, that was maybe after a couple of rounds. Won $18,000. A $5,000 play at +430. Won $21,000. A $2,000 play at 14-1 at +1,400. Now, I'm presuming that was after the first round, ahead of the second, when he finished so badly on the Thursday. So well done to that better. Copped 28 grand for a $2,000 play. There was also some nice bets on Justin Rose to lead after round one, both $1,000 at 15-1 and $175 at 66-1. Rosie, who's led the Masters on 5 occasions. He's been beaten in a playoff twice. He's finished runner-up 3 times. He still hasn't got over the line. And the 2025 Masters, incidentally, the third most wagered on golf event at Bet Rivers.
Yeah.
2020. 2024 Masters is number 1, incidentally. Overall, Bet Rivers did win, not on the futures market, I suspect, but all the props, all the tops, and so on and so forth, all the 2 balls and 3 balls over the course of the week. And Rory was the second biggest pre-tournament liability to win the event. But I mean, it's huge. There's an awful lot of in-play action. You mentioned those swings as well. I mean, I think he went from, this is decimal odds, forgive me, 1.6 to 2.3 in the blink of an eye when he double bogeyed that first. That's how quickly it can change.
As a perfect player, isn't he? That's the added to the drama, because you just McIlroy doing McIlroy things in terms of he's such an up and down player. It can change hole to hole, but he's so aggressive and he's so great to watch. And some of those shots coming down the stretch where he had to go for it were just extraordinary, really. So yeah, brilliant story, and we should savour him, I think, because he's a sportsman I love to watch, and I love to watch him in action. And I think that's what we have to celebrate, those kind of people that really attack what they're trying to do. And I love watching him, and I'm really happy for him. And it just shows you how, I think, I'm not surprised about the figures there about the Masters being one of the most popular betting competitions of the season, etc., because it's all about course form, isn't it? And you can narrow the field down so much,
absolutely,
and come up with some really big prices and angles that you can really attack in that tournament. So it's a brilliant watch. It does seem to captivate everyone, doesn't it? The Masters, and everyone seems to have a bet. It's turned in maybe to what the Grand National used to be, maybe, in terms of everyone having a bet on the Masters. It's all people were talking about over the Thursday to the Sunday, was how your bet's getting on and stuff. So it captivates the audience from a betting point of view, and I'm all for that. So that's great.
The real Brendan King says, hi from Toronto. Big fan of Jones Knows. Welcome back. Ray says, hi, Dan and Lewis. Ray, how are you? Ginepi, quarterfinals is the best time of year talking about Champions League. Ming says, hi, Lewis. Well done with Wissa on the newsletter. Rick says, morning all. Lovely cells. What have we got here? I'm trying to go back here. Hello from Barry in Canada. Player Cam's with us. The under in the Chelsea game was toast after 20 minutes. I put up under 3.5 on the newsletter. Sancho's late one did us there. Joe Bamba, how to squeeze out value from the Napoli match? Well, we might have something for you there. Jinipi says, Joe Bamba, Napoli to nil is the play. Maninda says, any game stat-based props Lewis recommends looking out for in the Champions League this week? We'll touch on the Champions League later on. JC says, Napoli haven't kept a clean sheet in a while. Joe Bamba, risky about last time I did Burnley to nil, ended 2-1. Yeah, I mean, Burnley did us on Friday. So did that corners bet that I put up as well. Lots of you talking about Fulham, both teams to score. And also scoring on the road for Fulham as well. We're going to get Lewis's thoughts on that one in just a second. Jennifer, I'm all on Fulham players props. And Ray says, Vélez Sarsfield, Argentine League, -1 is a play. We'll get to one or two of your picks as well when it comes to the games tonight. Other notable weekend winners outside of the golf, Rodriguez on the money line in UFC 314 beat Patricio Freire. That was a winner, $30,000 play at -152. Baseball bets that have been landing here, $25,000 play on the Cubs at -1.5 against the Dodgers, which was a winner. And then an over 8.5 total runs line on the Dodgers-Cubs game, which was a loser for $19,000. Giants against the Yankees. Giants on the money line at $12,000. So baseball has started, and some heavy hitters, quite literally, are getting involved. And finally, MLS. Montreal against Charlotte. Over 1.5 goals line, which was a loser. $20,000 play. Usually MLS is a bit of an overs line, an overs league, isn't it? If you are watching via Bet Rivers app, Hull against Coventry, which we're going to tackle for you shortly, is live on the app, as is Atleti Valladolid in La Liga, plus the second tier in Spain, Huesca against Malaga, in Ligue 2, Bastia against Stade Lavallois, and also AK against Malmo in the Allsvenskan. Don't know if Steve's with us. If he is, he might pop in a pick for you in the comments. Let's talk Bournemouth Fulham, shall we? One of the principal reasons we've got Lewis on the show today. Bournemouth are plus 108, Fulham plus 250, tie 250, just on the money line here. It's interesting because Bournemouth, Lewis, I mean, they were plus 110. They've been nibbled at a little bit over the course of the weekend. They've been favourites in 5 of the last 6, but haven't won any of them. So the market is sticking with them here, which I find odd in one way because they're losing games, or they're not winning games, more accurately. But when you look at some of their XG figures, it's still quite high. So I can see sort of why the layers want to keep them on side. What are your thoughts on the way that the money line is, given the fact that, Bournemouth are even money favourites pretty much, but they're not winning games?
Well, yeah, it's a perfect example, I think, Dan, of how much sort of the underlying data through expected goals now is just dominates and factors how the market goes about it, really, to come up with a price. Because if this was 20, 25 years ago, I think there's no way on earth Bournemouth would be anywhere near even money to win based on their sort of recent actual form, which is now 8 games without a win if you don't count the FA Cup game they won on penalties, so in 90 minutes. And they're playing against a Fulham team here, aren't they? They've just beaten Liverpool, and they've still got big hopes for qualifying for Europe, I think. And I just think this win price is just all about that underlying process with Bournemouth, rather than it just shows you that how much it dominates. I think from over the course of the season, really, the process that Bournemouth have put together it's always up there with one of the best in the league, really. And I think the market is very confident here that they are going to turn things around over the next eight games, because the XG figures are still in their favour, aren't they? I mean, if you look at even if the eight games that we spoke about there, where they haven't won, their expected goals for is 1.9 and expected goals against is 1.5. So still a positive performance from that point of view when you're looking at that sort of data. And over the course of the season, if you just look at if you turn in sort of expected goals numbers into expected points through various models that you can use, then Bournemouth should actually be 4th in the Premier League. So again, I think this price is based a lot on that. So I can totally see why they're favourites based on that. But I can't bet them though at that price. I mean,
same.
They are a team that do let you down. And I think they're starting to do the basics very, very wrong in games, actually making a lot of mistakes. I'll go back to that Tottenham game where they were completely in control at 2-0 away from home, and it was Kepa's mistake for the penalty, which turned the game around. And they just don't see game management isn't their stronghold, I think. And I don't really like them when they're ahead in games. I do feel they're always very vulnerable because they've only got one way of playing: attack, get the ball forward. We're going to keep pressing, and that's brilliant to watch. And I do love the manager, Andoni Iraola, and I think he's going to go places in his career in the Premier League. Such a high octane style of football, which I love to watch. But as the season progresses with his teams, I do think there's now evidence to suggest that they do start to flag as the season comes to an end, just because of the amount of energy they have to expend playing this style. And that goes back to his time at Vallecano as well. And just ran some numbers here on his win percentage at Vallecano between August and February, which was at 36%. And that drops to 20% between March and June. So there were signs of tiredness creeping into his style of football there in Spain. And I think that just might be occurring here at Bournemouth as well. Obviously, there's still time for them to finish strongly and maybe even nick a European spot if they can put a win and run together. And this team is capable of doing that. But again, there's plenty of reasons not to back them at this price here, because of their confidence, because of the form in front of goal. And they've only scored 19 Premier League home goals this season, Dan, which did surprise me. That's only the bottom 3 have scored fewer at home, which again suggests where all their problems lie in terms of actually turning their really high probability chances and good quality play into goals. And I do think they do have flaky finishers. I mean, Semenyo has gone off the ball. He's not a consistent finisher. Evan Nilsson's come to the party a little bit in the last few weeks, but again, Marcus Tavernieri, he's never really scored consistently, and I just think that's the problem that holds me back from backing Bournemouth here. So I can't get involved with them tonight. Dan, are you on the same lines?
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you said there. It's like the underlying metrics say that it's the right price. The bare results suggest why on earth am I backing them somewhere near even money? A lot of the YouTube comments here coming about both teams to score yes. Fulham are the most profitable, both teams to score yes in the league. Bournemouth are slightly profitable as well. I can see that, and you're still leaning on Bournemouth goals, obviously, to help you with both those markets here. But I couldn't pull the trigger on Bournemouth at that sort of price. I might have been able to couple of months ago, but you're right about Iraola, and we've seen it as well. We saw it last season. I know the fixture list was slightly different as well, wasn't it? But his teams just tend to run out of gas towards the end of the season. So if we're not playing the regular markets here, although to be honest, I couldn't put anyone off both teams to score, or indeed over 2.5 goals. I mean, over 2.5 goals, what is it at the minute? I still think if you crunched all the numbers just for these two, we're talking about minus 137. I can't see because of the comment there that John's put up for us there. But there we go. Minus 134 is over 2.5 goals. Minus 167 both teams to score. Yes, I mean they're both minus money. I couldn't put anyone off either of those two, but I could put people off Bournemouth at plus 108. Are we putting people off Fulham at plus 250 as well? Is that a bit too short, do you think, Lewis?
Yeah, not really a side I want to back either. Fulham. This is painful. There's two teams here I don't really like, so probably the draw. If you're going to push me on on 1x2 market here, the draw probably did look the play at the prices. But Fulham, yeah, they've got look at their last 7 fixtures: win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So next one's going to be a loss, which is the Bournemouth game. So this is a very hard team to read. I do like what he's done this season, Marco Silva. He's got them very well organised. They get the best out of what they've got in forward areas as well. He's really lit a fuse under the likes of Iwobi and Raul Jimenez. I mean, these are all players that were really on the way out of their Premier League careers probably when they went to Fulham, and he's just revitalised them. He's very good at doing that. He gets the best out of all what he's got at his disposal. And I'm on them actually to finish in the top 6 and the top 4 at big prices early this season, but they've left me so frustrated throughout the season because they've left so many points out there, Dan. I mean, look at some of the results they've had. They've drew 3 times against Ipswich and Southampton this season, lost to Wolves, lost to West Ham. Man United did the double over in the league. And if they'd only just picked up 9 points from those games, they've left so much out there, and they should be really where Forest are. If you take those points away, if only they had a bit better record against the bottom 6, they would be up there fighting for that, really in the mix for the top 4. So a little bit frustrated with them this season. And I think this is where it comes from tonight, where they probably are a little bit too big in the market. But again, just with their sort of inconsistent performances here and there, and they're just not a team I want to trust. So I'm staying clear of the outright market, but I do have a bet the props market.
Go on,
sure.
This is it. I could sense it. And there's a lot of people here waiting for your props here. So let's just see what Joe Bamba, Rodriguez, Muniz, or Jimenez depends on who's going to start to score or for a shot on target here. Ginepi says, Muniz, Jimenez for a goal. Sessegnon shot on target. Pereira assist has been floated here as well. Joe also says that Iraola could be the Spurs coach next season. Look, I think we've got to look at some props here. I mean, even Ilson and Muniz were the two that I was looking at here, but they're pretty obvious. Any sort of value play for you, prop wise, Lewis? Come on.
Well, not in the shots market. I can't believe no one's mentioned it actually, because you just want to be looking at fouls. When Bournemouth are in town, they are the foul committing kings, and there is still quite a lot of juice in their prices. I mean, these I'm not sure. It's not really a bet for everyone. These foul markets, because especially when you're trying to tip a price, because they can be quite weak, these markets, and they don't take much to move them. But I'm happy to advise some of these prices here, because we're getting close to kickoff now, and they've held over the past few days. So I'm quite excited here about the Bournemouth fouls angles in this game, because I think it should be a really competitive, high stakes game actually, with the intensity still up, with both teams still fighting for those European places. And I do think, because just the way that Bournemouth play and the amount of fouls they've conceded this season, this should be a fouls galore game. I think when the stakes are high and it's going to be intense, I do think fouls are always worth getting on your side in a game like this. And you're always assured of fouls when Bournemouth are involved, because no team have committed more fouls than them this season, and they've made at least 13 fouls in 17 of their last 18 matches. So that shows you how reliable they are in this market, because the line's always set when you're pricing up, when bookmakers are pricing up these foul lines, they're always sort of start at like 10, 11, 12. And the fact that Bournemouth made 13 in 17 of their last 18 matches is really consistent. And I'm really sort of happy to to put faith in them making him more fouls and keeping along those lines in this game. Unfortunately, 13 fouls or more with Bet Rivers is minus 250, which is the right price for me, which is a shame. It is bigger actually elsewhere across in the UK book. So if you can have a little look elsewhere today, then I'll definitely go and look at the overall Bournemouth foul line. But there is a potential bet here with Bet Rivers, and it's in the player fouls market, and it's Tyler Adams, the Bournemouth central midfielder. He's the perfect central midfielder for Iraola because he's an absolute foul machine. He's just he's very intense. He's very in your face. He likes to put people under pressure, and he's very, very cynical and very clever at making these key tactical fouls that Iraola wants from his team. Because when teams press against Bournemouth, if they get through that press, they are on the Bournemouth back four. So in order to stop those counters happening, the two midfielders are in there to try and stop them at the source, really. And they're very clever at making those sort of fouls within the opposition half to stop those counters. And since coming back from injury in November, Adams, he's been an absolute foul machine. I mean, 44 fouls in his last 16 starts. So that's 2.6 fouls per game over a big sample size. So the two or more line, if you're backing it with when it comes to Adams, is a bet that's landed in 11 of his last 16 starts and in all 6 of his last 6 starts. So he's got 100% strike rate for the two or more fouls line here in his last 6 starts. And he's minus 105 to make 2 or more fouls tonight, and that's the angle for me here in this game. Really like the Bournemouth fouls angle outright, but with Bet Rivers, that price on Tyler Adams to make 2 or more here, that he's averaging 2.6 fouls per game, and we're getting sort of minus 105 here. So I think there's a little bit of value there to take advantage, and he's going to be at his usual pest-like self in the midfield, trying to put out fires, trying to make fouls. And his partner in crime, Ryan Christie, is out for the season as well. So I think that's actually going to help Adams. He's going to be more of a focus on him making those fouls in midfield. And he made 4 in his last game against without Christie next to him. So I think he's going to be responsible for a lot of these Bournemouth fouls tonight. And minus 105 for him to make 2 or more. Yeah, I think that's a great bet to attack then.
Lovely. Like that one. Yeah, Grazer makes the point that Ryan Christie is out. Joe says Sessegnon plus 400 anytime goal scorer. Doubt about Clivert. Yeah, fitness test. I've heard about that one. Ginepi. And Joe Babbitt says Muniz anytime goal scorer is pretty obvious. Yeah, I mean, he's scored in 3 of his last 4. He missed a sitter against Arsenal when he came on as well. Incidentally, both Jack and Nigel have got official plays in this game. If you head and have a rewatch of the Premier League show, we have got Jack's 2-unit play, and we've also got Nigel's hot dog. So we've got 3.
I think it's a great betting heat, Dan. I do think it's a really good betting heat.
I think so. Yeah,
because there's a lot on the line for both teams still. Normally this time of season, you'd think Fulham, Bournemouth, mid-table sort of fodder, but not this season. This is a real opportunity for both of them still here to keep their seasons alive and look up the table. So I do think all these sort of like props markets, the goals, the shots on target, the fouls, both teams have to win. I think that's the key here. If they really want to challenge for the top 6, top 4, then they do have to win the game. So it's a really good betting heat to get stuck into, I think, if you've got an angle. So yeah, I'd encourage punters to really get excited and involved in those prop markets tonight. Because I think there's lots and lots of angles to take advantage of. Yeah, certainly.
3 p.m. kickoff Eastern. Of course, there's a house special from Bet Rivers over 1.5 first half goals in the game at plus 155. In terms of where the money's been going, 68% of the money on Fulham, 55% of the tickets on Bournemouth. So the public money on Bournemouth, the Shrewdies are on Fulham. Over and under, 69% of the money on under, 59% of the tickets on over. So again, a split there between public and pro money, and some hefty bets as well on 1 or 2 of the prop markets. $1,500 play on Fulham under 6.5 corners, which is short. $1,000 play on Fulham double chance. $750 on Bournemouth under 16.5 total shots at minus 137. And also $500 play on Bournemouth under 6.5 shots on target. Someone's done some maths there, potentially going unders on the shots for Bournemouth. But that looks to be bets that have looked at results rather than some of the XG metrics, which is interesting. Laidback Ahmed says, out of all the handicappers, in my opinion, Lewis is my favourite. There's no favourites here, Laidback Ahmed. We're a team. We're a team. Nish says both teams to score in this match and over 2.5.
Didn't know my mum was on YouTube. So that's
nice. That is Bournemouth against Fulham. Lewis is going to give us some thoughts on Hull Coventry in just a second, but there is a big game in Italy as well. Napoli against Empoli. Now, once again, head to back to the YouTube archive for Betting Weekly, because Steve's got an official pick in this. It's a really good pick. I think it's one of the best bets of the weekend. And it's basically on the total goals line. If you want to have a look at that, I stress you go and have a look at what Steve's got to say about it. And I worked out some of the stats as well. And it's a huge value play. And it's a little bit counterintuitive. Napoli are minus 305 here. Empoli are plus 850. The tie-up plus 380. Obviously, from a Napoli point of view, they're 6 points behind Inter, going for the title. They need to win this one. And just one thing that I worked out, we talked about this last week, Lewis, before my internet went down, was that Napoli have tended to start games really well since the turn of the year. And it's one of those situations, myself and Steve talked about it on the European show, and it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on this, Lewis, actually. And we talked right at the top of the show about a lot of data, because we've got a lot of data from the whole season. But some teams have changed over the course of the season. And the interesting thing about Napoli and Empoli here, if you look at the halftime market, Napoli have won at halftime, or been winning at halftime, 13 times in 31 games. It's a small profit if you've bet them to win at halftime every single game in Serie A. But since January the 1st, when they've fallen behind in the title race, they've been at it even quicker. 7 of 13 and a 5.27 level stakes profit for just 13 games, rather than 4.12 for 31 games. So they've been starting quicker. So their stats and their style has changed a little bit. And in Empoli's case, it's the complete reverse. Halftime only table, Empoli are 10th, and they're struggling in the relegation zone at the moment. But again, they've changed over the course of the season. It's 8 from 31 over the course of the campaign for an £8.32 profit if you're doing pound level stakes, but only 2 from 13 from the 1st of Jan, which is actually a loss. So two teams that have sort of changed their style of play or regressed in one way or another, Lewis. And I'm suggesting that Napoli leading at halftime at minus 118 is a better play than Napoli minus 345, or indeed Napoli just to win to 0. Steve has gone for a really good goals bet, so make sure you watch the European show. But just in terms of figures that you trust over a course of the season, and figures that you might want to take from certain stages of the season, Lewis, it's an angle always worth exploring.
Yeah, it is. And also when these manager changes happen as well, I think these are really great opportunities for us as punters to really dig into the data of that previous manager's style at his previous club, to try and find angles in his style of play, whether he likes fast starts, is the goal ratio. There's so many things that you can now that are there for everyone to use out there for in terms of manager records. You can sort of simplify it to, because they're so stick religiously to their styles of play now, don't they? These managers. This is why they're hired. They get jobs because they never really change up when they get jobs elsewhere. So they do. If they're playing, if they're sticking to their formula, then the data is going to hold up, and that sometimes isn't factored into the market of their new job. So I can definitely see that's when there's a manager change, I always get quite excited, because there's always a chance, I think, to get ahead of a curve with how that manager is going to implement his new ideas. I mean, it was Juric at Southampton. The fouls. I mean, you go from Russell Martin to Juric, it was a huge change that the markets didn't really latch onto for at least 3-4 weeks, just in terms of the physical nature of the way that Southampton played, in terms of their fouls output. I know we're going foul crazy here today talking on here, but in terms of the Southampton's foul numbers under Juric compared to Martin was chalk and cheese, and there was great opportunities to exploit there. So yeah, it's always something I'm really keen to do when a manager change happens, in terms of looking at that long data that comes from their previous job, because it normally in this day and age, they don't change it up at all.
Yeah, well, look, this is a good case in point, and Steve has come on and just given the better way. I'm trying to get people to watch the show, Steve. What are you doing to me here? Steve says, may as well spit it out down under 2.5 goals. How do Empoli score from here? Joe says, don't bet unders on teams winning to 0. Sounds great. Never ends well. All teams winning to 0. The stats with Napoli are fairly strong, and you've got to remember who's in charge here. It's Antonio Conte, and to Lewis' point, you know what I mean? Wherever he's been, his default setting is defensive. But it's interesting, because when Napoli have been short price favourites this season, it's only 6 times at home that they've been minus 200 or shorter. 5 of those 6 have gone under 2.5, and the market's not changed that much. The last time was -115 against Udinese. Obviously, Empoli are a worse team. People are thinking that Napoli will score an awful lot because Empoli won't. But they're -112 for under 2.5. That is the play on the European show.
Well, I think just look at Liverpool as well at the weekend. This is one of my reasons for taking on the Liverpool on the handicap on the weekend, because they don't need to win by 2, 3, 4, 5 goals anymore. And
exactly
the closer you get to the finish line, the more you just want the 3 points and move on at this stage of the season. That always isn't factored into the market. So it might be here with Napoli. I know they're still trying to chase down Inter, aren't they? So I can definitely see that angle. Once Napoli get in front, when you've got to factor in the manager as well and the situation that they're in the league, no risks taken at all. So 1-0, 2-0, absolutely fine. So I can totally see Steve's underplay there. That makes a lot of sense.
Nish says Napoli half-time, full-time, best option. Giuseppe and Joe talking about unders in the comments. Keep all the comments coming in. How special for you? Lukaku to score, Napoli to win, +170. Most of the money has come on Napoli. Most of the money's come on overs as well. But, public money sometimes isn't the best money. That's the 2 picks that I've put up for the Napoli-Empoli game. Let's get back to some of the English action. That's why we got Lewis on the show today. We've got Hull against Coventry. This is streamed live on the BetRivers app and on the BetRivers website, so you can watch this game. It's Hull versus Coventry. Lewis here. These teams need points for very different reasons. Hull 2 points above the relegation zone. Coventry 2 points inside the playoff places. It's almost an each of 2 though here, isn't it? Look, Coventry +145, Hull +165. There's been a bit of money for Coventry, and I can see why. And again, you look at some base form recently. They've lost a few games, but one was against Sheffield United, one was against Burnley. They have won 7 of their last 10. Hull have been a little bit better recently, just 2 defeats in their last 7. Any angles in for Hull Coventry for us tonight in the Championship?
Oh, it just sums up the Championship, this market, doesn't it? I mean, you're thinking a team that's fighting relegation against a team that's going for promotion, and there's really nothing that much between the teams, which sums it up really. It's all those teams below the top probably 4 are so condensed. Even you can see it in the relegation fight now. Even the teams at the bottom, the likes of Plymouth and Luton, are starting to pick up, and there's only 6 points separating the bottom 6 now, with just 4 games left, and there's not actually that much of a gap to the sort of mid-table and going up towards the playoffs. So that gap between staying up and the playoffs is probably going to be the shortest it's ever been in Championship history this year. It must be, because there is not much between many of these teams, and the market does sort of suggest this, even though Coventry have been much better with Frank Lampard in charge. And how are you feeling about the Luton's renaissance lately, Dan? Because you're on them to get relegated, aren't you?
I am a big price. Look. One of the problems I've got is that I've backed them at double-figure prices, but they're in an awful lot of ACCAs, parlays. Okay. I've got Luton in with Atleti to win the La Liga, also Atalanta to win Serie A, and also Arsenal to win the Premier League. Well, the latter's definitely not going to happen, and the 2 are massive price outsiders. But my outright on Luton will pay for all the other bets and some over. But I am getting slightly concerned, I must admit, because they've sneaked 1 or 2 better performances recently, haven't they? But
yeah, they have. It just seems like all the teams down there at the moment, they're just avoiding defeats. They're picking up a win here and there, but they're not losing many games. And again, that just shows you how sort of condensed the league is. And there isn't really, when it makes such fine margins between these teams, a player being injured, a little bit of variance. I mean, it can make a huge difference in a team's output in terms of their results here, I think. And just look at Millwall, especially. I mean, won 4 of their last 5, and now they're going to get promoted apparently and going through the playoffs. So, and they're just a sort of a bog standard, well organised Championship team. So again, it just shows you there's really not much between any of these teams. And it's definitely it's not an official pick for me. It's only a lean, because I did think it was a very hard game to have a look at. But Coventry draw no bet at -125.
Yeah, I picked that out as well. Yeah,
that's probably the way I'd probably play this if I was going to have a bet. I know it's a very simplistic way of looking at things when you're just analysing attack versus attack, but Coventry do have the better attacking players, and that maybe gives them the edge, I think, in the playoff picture. I think the fact they've got such a good attacking output and they've got really good players in those forward areas might be the difference between them being able to get up through the playoffs. I think they've got some really good players. I mean, Haji Wright, Jack Rudoni, Mason Clark's a good player as well. They've got that attacking sort of excitement about them that many other teams in the
quite a few options, haven't they, as well? I think they've got 1 or 2 options. Coventry, they're a good team, I think.
And I think this is the matchup here against Hull. We've got really sort of mediocre players in the final third. They just lack confidence and inspiration all season for me, really. And they've only scored 40 goals in their 41 championship games this season, Hull. And only Luton have scored fewer. Lost to Watford 1-0 in their last game. And that was the 15th time this season they failed to score in a game. And it's not a well-rounded argument, really, just taking the best attack in a football match, I think. But at the prices here, I just think Coventry have got a good chance of outscoring Hull here, whether it's probably a low-scoring game on the horizon. But Coventry have just got the better players in the final third. And when the market's shaped sort of so evenly matched to a certain extent, not really towards Coventry, I would just lean their way. But it would only be a lean because, they've got the second highest expected goals number in the Championship this season, Coventry. And they just, as I say, Haji Wright's a good player, and they're in good form. Won 7 of the last 10, have you said? So that's the way I'd be playing it. Draw no bet Coventry, but again, it would be an official pick. It would be lean. I've also got a little prop bet in the assist market to have a look at. If you do, I think this is probably the better bet to attack, really, at a bigger price in a game of this nature. And this is Jack Radoni. Radoni. You say Radoni, I say Radoni. He's plus 540 for an assist with Bet Rivers, which I thought was very, very generous, considering he's got 11 assists this season already. So he's the joint top in the league after he got an assist in the midweek win over Portsmouth, where they won 1-0 with another last-minute winner. I think they've scored 6 90th minute plus winners this season, Coventry, which is a remarkable achievement. And that does suggest that maybe just something's happening this season with them in terms of their what they're going to do through the playoffs. It just might be their season. You never know. So yeah, Raduni's he's an excellent technician. Actually, he's probably a little level above at the Championship. Loves to get crosses in, lots of quality with his output. And just considering how Coventry are priced up in the market, and you do probably just lean towards them. If they are going to get 1 or 2 goals, I do think there's a good chance that this guy does get the assist, and plus 540 for a player that's got 11 already this season and is top of the Championship. So I do think that's a slice of value to attack in a very difficult betting heat. I'd much rather get stuck into the Fulham Bournemouth game rather than this one. But if I was pushed, and I'm going to be leaning towards Coventry draw no bet and a Radoni assist at plus 540. Yeah, it's quite a big price actually, that one.
That's a big price for someone who's got 11 assists. Yeah, I can't show my workings out countdown style, but I've scribbled down here minus 114 draw no bet. As you say, I just think Coventry are a better team here. They haven't drawn a league game since January the 1st. So they're due one, as they say.
Trend ender, the trend ender.
Absolutely. But a draw, you get your money back. I think Coventry will win. I mean, they have been bet a little bit as well. Most of the money on Coventry, most of the money's on overs as well. I mean, Hull are an unders team, but Coventry are an overs team. So I don't know if one gets dragged up or the other gets dragged down. It's usually
every team in the Championship's an unders team, apart from Coventry, aren't they? I think.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. That is Lewis's couple of leans. We will keep Lewis with us because he's just going to give us a little sort of Champions League chat before we let him escape. One more game to look at. Just before I do that, I better say that Layback Armour's come back on. He said it goes like this. Number 1 is Lewis, 2 Jack, 3 James. Maybe Lewis' rating is inflated by the fact he only features once in a while. Dan, me, I'm low key 5 or 6. 5 or 6. I'm in the top. I'll sort of take that as a win. I think I'll take that as a win.
I can't believe I'm above Jack Wright and Easton. They're honestly they're much better judges than I'd ever be. So thank you very much for that comment. But I'm not having that at all.
I think Ahmed's only saying that because I'm on the show. If I wasn't here, I wouldn't be cited. Chris Graham, is Nigel still in the last man standing competition? We'll ask him. He'll be on later this week. Well, he's on tomorrow, I presume, for the Champions League. So, Chris, you need to get
I'm assuming if he hasn't mentioned it, he's probably not in it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Because week on week, he was battering on about it. I hope he's still in it because it's a nice prize for Nigel. Yeah. And he's short of a quid or two. Not really. Not after the tennis bets that he's had. Going back to the last game to look at. This is La Liga. This drove me mad all day, this one. Just want to talk a little bit about the title here. In terms of, I'll return to the prices in a second. Atleti, and I'm talking through my own pocket a little bit here. They're 33 to win the title. I've not bet them at 33. I've bet them at 12 and 10 and 8. They're 33 to win the title. Barcelona and Real Madrid both won this weekend. Barcelona are minus 590 to win La Liga, and Real Madrid are plus 350. Barca are 10 points clear of Atleti and 4 clear of Real Madrid. So a win here in the game in hand, and it's cut to 7. I just wanted to point out that Atleti have played all of the top 5 home and away. They've played all of the top 11 away from home. So their running is generous. It's a lot easier than Barca, who have still got to play Real Madrid. There's still one more Clásico to come. They've got to go Athletic Bilbao away and Villarreal at home. And Real Madrid have got to go Bilbao. I've got to play Athletic Club at home as well as Barcelona. And their record against the top 4, Real Madrid, is shocking this season. They haven't won any of the 4 that they play. So they might trade a little bit shorter. Real Madrid obviously going to concentrate on the league from now on in, because they're probably going to go out of the Champions League. Get Lewis' thoughts on that in a second. But obviously they'll be without Mbappe after that horror challenge at the weekend that'll keep him out for 3 games or more. But just on this game tonight, as one or two have said in the comments here, I think we had 1 or 2 saying Atleti to nil. I mean, Atleti to nil's not much of a price. Dave saying Atleti Madrid minus 800 and the spread at minus 2.5 on the Asian line. Yeah, it's a nasty one to try and cover. I mean, the minus 910 we bet really. If I did a 20 to 1-ish, under and over line is 3.5. I looked at this. Atleti without a clean sheet in 4. They've only won 4 of their last 11, which is shocking, really, for a team I'm trying to say have still got a squeak for the title. But I mean, no one in the world is backing Valladolid at a big price here. They've lost 14 of 15 away from home. But just on that Asian line, they've only lost by 3 or more on 5 occasions. And Atleti have only covered an Asian line like that twice in 15 home games. So I wouldn't bet Atleti to cover that spread. The interesting line that I came out with here, and I went down a rabbit hole on Friday with a German game that was a shocking bet in the end and was never going to win from about this 3rd minute onwards. But I went down a rabbit hole of Koke coming back into the Atletico Madrid side here. He missed 2 months of the season. They got knocked out of the Champions League, got knocked out of the Copa del Rey. He's not played for a couple of months. He's 33 now. He doesn't start every single game anyway, but he starts enough. And I just thought on the shots market for team shots, Valladolid under 7.5 shots in the game at minus 137 might be a play. All the numbers stack up pretty well. When you look at Atleti and their shots against at home, against the bottom 6 sides, their average is 6.2, or the opposition average 6.2. And again, when you look at Valladolid, when they've played the best teams away from home, the top 7, and they've played 5 of the top 7, their average shots is 6.2. And Diego Simeone, talking about what control that Koke gives, he came on as a late sub in the game against Sevilla, and they won 2-1. If he starts tonight, and all of the Spanish press are suggesting he will start, his stats are really good. When Koke starts, average shots against at home, 6.3. So it's under by a shot when it comes to the averages, both with Koke starting and with Atleti against the poorer sides in the division, and for Valladolid against the better sides away from home. So the sort of averages work out there, and Koke hopefully will give them some sort of control of the game. And they've got to win. They've got to control the game. They're the worst side in the division, Valladolid. So that's my angle in for Atleti. Under 7.5 total shots from Valladolid at minus 137. Let's hope that Atleti don't have 2 players sent off in the first 10 minutes. Then that one will
I like that.
Little
positional tweaks like that with players coming back in terms of defensive output. Absolutely. It sounded like a rabbit hole that was well worth going down, though, Dan.
God, yeah. Look, I've got so many averages here, but I don't want to just reel off a load of numbers for you. So if you're playing that one, good luck. I'll be watching it over the course. Joe Bama says Alvarez Sorlock brace plus 300. Griezmann and Alvarez to score at plus 260. Yeah, Griezmann's form has dropped a little bit. Not quite sure if Sorlock's going to play, but he's been in better form. I think he's got 4 in his last 6 for club and country, something like that. And Ming Chung says Valladolid are easily the worst team in La Liga. Joe says Jack Wright is number 1. Come on, guys, let's be real. Come on, present company, Joe. Come on. Right, before we wrap things up with Lewis, what are your thoughts on Champions League here? Not got a graphic for it, but I know that you've been championing PSG a lot. And when we talked last week, you were just a little concerned because Villa obviously had found a bit of form, but you know, PSG should have won by more than 3-1. Is it going to be enough? I mean, Villa are plus 900 to qualify. Are you worried about Villa Park roaring and PSG getting knocked out, or should we going again around about plus 250? Are they PSG for the Champions League at the minute?
Yeah, I'm in a too good of a situation to really I've got the value already, and that's in my back pocket, and I'm just enjoying the ride at the moment with this PSG team. Even when they fell behind in Paris last week, I've got so much faith and belief in their process and the way they play. They don't panic. I've seen it a few times already in much more heightened, pressurized situations against Man City. Do you remember when they were behind to Man City, or actually potentially amazingly going out of the tournament?
Yeah.
Could have been dumped out, and they stayed. They just went to another level that night, and that was the night I realised this team are something probably quite special, and they've just continued to put up performances of that ilk. I think, they're excellent I thought Villa were really good as well in the first leg, but they just couldn't cope. They didn't do much wrong. They just couldn't cope with the intensity of PSG. The fullbacks were just causing all sorts of problems for Villa. They couldn't stop them. I would be very surprised if they don't get through this tie. And my dream lives on for at least a few more weeks until some sort of bad luck will go against them eventually, and they'll get knocked out. But at the moment, I'm completely so much faith in them to get the job done at Villa Park. It'll be a great night for Villa. They're going to have a go, but they're going to have to offer space on the counter-attack to the likes of Dembele and Kvaratskhelia, who is just a phenomenal footballer, isn't he? What a signing he's been as well. He's just looks like he's comes from like 1960s or something, and just plays as like in the modern way. He just wants to get forward, wants to create things so quick, so hard to. And that goal he scored against Villa was just sublime. So yeah, I'm still very confident about PSG being the best team in this competition. It's just whether they can just negotiate their way through to the final and then hopefully not play into Milan, really, because that's the team that really worries me. I'd rather than play Barcelona, I think, because I think they'll beat Barcelona in a shootout. So in a sort of a matchup, when they're both going hell for leather for each other, I think they'd beat Barcelona. But Inter would be the ones that could just stifle them, I think, and of course Arsenal as well. But it's we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, which I think we will get to that bridge. I think, because I think both PSG and Arsenal should be fine, I think.
Real Madrid. That was my last question to you. Real Madrid are plus 450 here. Outside of the betting world, people just think, well, Real Madrid must be 100-1 to qualify, but everybody knows it's a lot different. Even when Barcelona came back to beat PSG, and Liverpool came back to beat Barcelona, and even Roma beating Barcelona a few years ago. These are not huge prices anymore. 450 is going to get no one excited.
It's a remarkable, very short price, isn't it? I couldn't believe that. I was trying to price these up in my head before I had a look. I was expecting, maybe 16s would give you a bit of a run, maybe 12s. Plus 450 is ridiculous. Arsenal. When was the last time they conceded 3 goals in a football match? I haven't got the data with me now, but I can't. It's probably last week or something. But I can't remember the last time they would have conceded 3 goals in one match.
I think it's Brighton last year. I think it's Brighton last season. I can't remember
their style of play, and they'll be fine on the counter attack. Arsenal, they're going to create chances, and that's my really excited. Actually, I like Saka to score or assist actually on for the game. So I think his matchup with Alaba is one he can take full advantage of in a one-on-one situation. I don't think he looked very comfortable playing there at all, Alaba, at left back, and he was always looking around for support, wanted people to help him and double up. But with Real Madrid having to go for this game and Saka just happy to play out there and look for one-on-ones against him, I think he's going to absolutely time in knots in a one-on-one situation. He's getting on a bit. He's been out for a year, isn't he, with a really bad injury, Alaba, and marking Saka as a left back in a one-on-one situation has got to be one of the toughest tasks in world football, I think, having to stop him. And he's so cool and clinical in front of goal. He's going to get chances, I think, on the counter. So this is another reason why I just can't see Madrid getting anything, because they're going to have to come forward. And Arsenal with Martinelli and Saka. Martinelli's looked better in recent weeks. On the counter attack, I think Arsenal are very much set up to go and kill the game off at some point and make it hopefully a nice relaxing evening for all the Gunners out there. But yeah, I think Saka score assist price, that's a live runner tomorrow night on Wednesday, isn't it? Wednesday night is Wednesday. Isn't it?
Wednesday night. Yeah, brilliant. We've got Nigel and Steve tomorrow on the Champions League's duty. I think it's Will on Wednesday. I'm not 100% certain, but Steve is certainly on duty. Speaking of Steve, Brian Donnelly says Steve Wiss anytime is the man when it comes to the Kappa's league table here, Brian, on the Swedish bets. Nish says Arsenal kick out Madrid. Duncan says 3-0 Madrid. You heard it here first. And Brian says dream on, a different Brian. Arsenal House stay back says even 10 men Arsenal going through. Look, all the Champions Champions League chat Tuesday and Wednesdays. We'll have plenty of picks for you. Don't worry about that. Last word with Lewis. What's your best bets on tonight's card?
Oh, Tyler, going to the player fouls market in the Fulham versus Bournemouth game. Think it's going to be a foul frenzy. Bournemouth numbers always strong in this market. Tyler Adams, huge averages since November. All he's got to do is make 2 fouls. He's averaged 2.4 fouls across his last 14 games or so. Was it minus? What's the price? I had it earlier.
It was only just minus
105. Yeah, minus 105. So yeah, round even money. I think that's a great bet. So that's where most of my eggs will be going this evening, Dan.
Brilliant, lovely stuff. Incidentally, I've been following the draws over the Champions League and absolutely doing my money because there's hardly been any draws from the group stages onwards. I've been tweeting it out and not getting any returns. 220-1 for all 4 draws in the Champions League. I'll leave you with that thought. I'll leave you with that, loser. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly. It's about 10%. It's just incredible. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Live. But we've got another live show coming up in just over an hour. Mitch Michaels, Tim Dennis on the tennis. They're going to be talking ATP a little bit, I think, Barcelona and Munich. Also WTA, Stuttgart and Rouen. There are some live plays coming your way, I think. Lots of good advice when it comes to the tennis. Make sure you're back with us here on the Bet Rivers and the Betting Weekly YouTube channel. Just over an hour. Mitch and Tim talking you through plenty of live picks when it comes to the brackets for those particular events. That is your lot from myself and Lewis Doe. Soccer Show, of course, back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. Tennis, of course, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Champions League is going to be the focus tomorrow from Steve and from Nigel. From myself and Lewis Doe, that is goodbye. Good luck with your bets tonight.